Well, good afternoon, Facebook. It's Alex Hall of Alex Hall at Realty. And today, as promised a little while ago, I'm going to talk to you about the advantages of auction, and I'm going to reference the recent successful sale by way of auction of my client's house at 63 Beacon Avenue in Beacon Hill. And for any of you who are thinking about going to market yourself, I hope that you find this to be helpful. But before I get into that, I just want to reiterate the things that I said in writing yesterday. Mainly, I just want to say thank you to all those who helped me get 63 Beacon Avenue across the line. I want to thank, obviously, my clients who gave me the work. I want to thank everybody who turned up. Really want to thank my fantastically talented auctioneer, Will Hampson. Will, you are a genius. For any of you who don't realise it, there is a tremendous difference between auctioneers. The right one can, really make a big difference. But all of that said, I want to talk to you about auction. Now, some of you may be hearing this and thinking, I'm not interested, I don't want to do auction, I'll never do auction, and that's okay. I'm not one of those agents who thinks auction is the only way to go. There are circumstances in which auction is not the way to go, and in future broadcasts I can talk about that. But when the circumstances are right, sale by way of auction is the absolute preferred way to go. Now, I want to suggest that in the right circumstances, there are three main advantages that make auction in the right circumstances absolutely compelling. What are those three? Well, there's something about auction. There are three. The first one is there's something about auction that creates urgency. It creates scarcity. So if you're in a situation where, as a seller, you have to sell, sale by way of auction, and I've seen this multiple times, it just seems to send a message to the universe in New Age speak. It just tells the world we are selling. And it makes the buyers respond. And it makes the buyers stand up and take notice, because they know that if they don't do something soon, they're going to lose it. Now, that doesn't mean that in private treaty you can't sell properly. One of the fastest sales I ever had as an agent was a private treaty sale that, at the height of the boom in 2014, only sold in 4 days. But generally, there's something about auction in any market condition that helps to create interest. Now, the other advantage of auction is that it's very inclusive. Now, why is that important? Well, in the case of houses that are on the market for a long time, and unfortunately, sometimes a house can be on the market for far too long, one of the main reasons it fails to sell is because potential buyers see the asking price that's on the net or in the advertising, and they fail to come. They're put off by the mere number. So, if buyers think that a house should be worth this much and the asking price is this much, they won't even come, because in their estimation it's just way too expensive, and it just prevents those buyers from coming. But by contrast with sale by way of auction, you might have a price guide, but there's no asking price. Now, what that means is that you are able to legitimately say to buyers, there's no right or wrong answer as to what you think this home is worth. Now, I can promise you, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, that the owners in this case are definitely selling. So if you have an interest in this level, in this home, at any level, feel free to come and bring it to the auction, because these people are selling. So it's inclusive, and you don't have the conversation that goes, I'm sorry, they're wanting how much? You totally avoid that conversation. And in flat markets, that could be a real issue. But probably the most compelling argument for sale by way of auction is that if a house is successfully sold under the hammer, there's no cooling off and it's done. Now what that means, for any of you not aware, is that as opposed to a private treaty sale where you can spend a long time in very hard negotiation with buyers, going back and forth, trying to get the right number. You finally get the right number, you sign off and there's great enthusiasm and excitement, but you've then got to face at least a 5 business day cooling off period, and sometimes that's extended to longer. What that means is that the potential buyers have got lots of time to change their mind. And if they have a building and pest report and it shows any problems at all, that can often lead to price negotiations. But what it can also mean is that buyers see the building and pest and they say, maybe not. And the whole thing can fall to the ground. And every agent can tell you stories where that kind of thing has happened. But if a house sells under the hammer, that's it, it's sold. 10% and it's gone. So how does this story relate to, or this theory, how does this relate to 63 Beacon Avenue in Beacon Hill? Well, first of all, I don't want to give away private information on part of my clients, but what I can tell you is that these clients had to sell. They may have had other opportunities, but essentially selling for them was the best outcome. And we got a great outcome. So why was sale by way of auction good for them? Well, because it stimulated urgency and it made the buyers take notice. And so once the house was actively on the market, by the grace of God, we were able to get it done in 4 weeks. It was over and done. So the urgency thing helped. Now, let's talk about the issue of price. Now, one of the main reasons I said earlier that houses fail to sell is because in the estimation of the buyers, the asking price is too high. But of course, in this case, there was no asking price. So if any buyers came and they asked the inevitable question, how much are the owners asking? I was able to legitimately say to them, well, there is no asking price. The question, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, is how much would you be prepared to pay? Now, in answer to that question in relation to this particular home, I can tell you that the buyer opinion ranged from, in some extreme cases, as low as mid to high 800s to, on the more positive end, 1.2 to 1.3. Now, not all of the buyers who came to see the house before the auction were able to come, but it's certainly the case that there was a vast difference of opinion as to what the home was worth. But as the selling agent, I was able to say to all of these people, well, come and bring that to the auction. Now, on the day of auction, we had 4 registered bidders. And just to tell you the story of the auction, we had a fantastic auction. The bidding started at $950 and it closed out at $1.25. So it went up $300,000. Now, why is that? Because we're being very open and inclusive so that whatever people thought the home should be worth, there was no immediate price reason for them not to come, because if they thought it was only worth $900, come, and they did. If they only thought it was worth $1 million or $1,000,001, come, and they did. If they thought it was only worth $1,000,001, $1,000,002, come, and they did. And once they were there, the auction was live on the table, and bids were flying thick and fast, and we had something like 21 or 22 or 23 bids, or a lot of bids. They realised that if they didn't put their best foot forward, they were going to lose it. So the urgency to put their best foot forward was very, very real. And once we heard those magic words, it's on the market, it was essentially saying to the buyers, it's sold right this second unless you put your best foot forward. So we had, it's the best form of negotiation. Because sometimes in private treaty situation, if there's not a lot of competition, buyers see no reason to bid more. And even if you tell them you've got higher bids, they may not believe you. But in a good auction, it's open and transparent. It's happening live on the table right in front of them. But the third thing, and probably for this particular home, this is the most important thing, there's no cooling off period. Now, I'm not one who's going to try and sell a dud to potential buyers. I don't do that. So if there are problems with the house, I'm going to tell them up front because they need to know. And in this case, there was a building report done, and there were some problems with that. The house was not in premier condition, quite frankly. And the ultimate sale price did reflect that. Now, it was a great price relative to the area and relative to the condition of the house. And the owners and the buyers were all thrilled because it was a really, really good price. And the way that I was marketing this home was that it was a great opportunity to add value. And the buyers who ultimately purchased the home recognised that that was so. But the reason that it was so important that there was no cooling off period is because once they had made the successful bid at the auction, that was it was sold. So there was no opportunity for them to have backed off, done a building impasse and said, oh, wait a minute, it's got this, and wrong with it. Maybe this asking price is too much. And there was no opportunity for family members to say, you're bidding how much? That was it. It was done. And so the whole process, once it was live on the market, took only 4 weeks. We had a lot of interest because we were able to take really great photos and videos. And by the way, I should say thank you to the videos that helped us market the home. We had a lot of interest. We were able to include everyone. That created a lot of competition. We ended up with probably the best result that we could have got for this home in this condition, in this time. And everybody was thrilled, and it was just a great result. And how did I feel about that? Well, I think it's time to do what I like to call the sold dance, and that goes like this. Sold! Now, for me, I should say, by the way, that what's exciting is not necessarily getting the deal done. It's the joy that comes once the deal is over and the people move on to the next stage of their life. But having said that, in order for that to happen, you've got to get the deal done. And in this case, sale by way of auction was just the best way to go. Now, some of you might think that you can get better result in other methods of sale. And I should point out that there are, amongst the top agents in Australia, you've got experts in the top 1% who get fantastic results doing both auction and private treaty. And I'm not saying that auction is the only way to go. But for certain circumstances, if you do it properly, you can get a really great result because you can include everybody. You can create pressure just by sheer force of the people being there, and that can push the price to its ultimate level that, if it's sold under the hammer, is permanent. I should also say, in addition to that, that oftentimes, even if it doesn't sell under the hammer, it usually sells soon thereafter. So anyway, I hope all of that's made sense. I'd just like to say, again, thank you to all the people who helped make 63 Beacon Avenue, Beacon Hill such a fantastic result. It was probably one of the best auctions I've ever had the privilege to run. And if any of you should be thinking of selling this spring or at any time soon, then feel absolutely free to give me a call. Alex Hall of Alex Hall Realty, 0403 194 813. Feel free to visit my website, Alex Hall Team. www.alexhallteam.com.au, and I've got a really helpful book which I can give you for free. But for now, this is Alex Hall of Alex Hall Realty signing out, and I hope you have a fantastic day, and no doubt I'll speak to you all soon. Bye for now.